All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are cracking open the playbook on how to protect and grow your wealth, specifically here in Canada. It's a pretty sophisticated strategy, the one used by folks in the know, and we're going to break down exactly how it works step by step. So, the first thing you have to get your head around is that wealth planning in Canada, it's a totally different ballgame compared to, say, the United States. They're fighting a different battle down there. While a lot of American planning is focused on dodging the estate tax, up here in Canada, our big boss battle is against something completely different, and that's our sky-high personal income tax. And when I say high, I really mean it. We're talking about tax rates in most provinces where, if you're a top earner, more than half of every single dollar you make can go straight to taxes. Think about that. That's a huge hurdle to overcome if you're trying to build wealth, right? So this becomes the #1 problem that any smart Canadian wealth strategy has to solve.
So how do successful Canadians get around this? Well, they use this really elegant two-part structure. It's kind of considered the gold standard for protecting your wealth. It's an integrated model. You take a family trust and you combine it with a private corporation. And together, they can do things that neither one could possibly do on its own.
Let's actually look at how these pieces fit together. Think of it like you're building a financial fortress. Okay, so step 1, you create a family trust. Then, step 2, that trust, not you, is what owns the shares of a private corporation. And step 3, that corporation is what holds all your assets. You see how that layered structure works? It creates both a shield for protection and an engine for growth. Okay, let's break down that first part, the family trust. This is the shield in our whole model. It's the piece that stands between your personal life and your valuable assets. Its #1 job, defense. You know, the real power of a trust comes down to one simple but crucial fact. It creates a legal separation. The moment you transfer assets into that trust, you, personally, no longer own them. The trust does. And this isn't just, shuffling some papers around. It's a fundamental legal change in ownership. That's the key to all of its protective power. And that legal separation, it gives you some really powerful real-world benefits. Because you don't personally own the assets, they're shielded from your personal creditors. Let's say a totally separate business venture of yours goes south. Well, the wealth inside this structure can stay safe. And if it's set up correctly right from the get-go, it can even give you a layer of protection from certain family law claims. All right, that was the shield. Now for the second piece of this puzzle, the corporation. And this is your high-efficiency engine for sieving on taxes. This is where the offense comes into play. This is the part of the strategy that actively helps your wealth grow and grow a lot faster. Now, we're not talking about just any corporation. It has to be a very specific type. It's called a Canadian-controlled private corporation, or CCPC for short. And getting that special designation in the Income Tax Act, well, that's the key that unlocks one of the biggest tax advantages you can get in Canada. And here it is. This is the core of the entire strategy. Just look at that difference. Instead of earning income personally and paying tax at over 50%, a CPC can pay as little as 9% on its first $500,000 of active business income. That's thanks to something called the small business deduction. It's an absolute game changer. So why does this matter so much? Well, because that massive tax saving, that 40+% difference, it leaves a huge chunk of capital inside the company. That money isn't gone, paid out in tax. It's still there. It's available to be reinvested back into the business, into stocks, into real estate, whatever your growth strategy is. It just dramatically speeds up the compounding and the growth of your wealth. Okay, but, and this is a big but, this powerful structure isn't something you can just set up and forget about. The government knows exactly how good this is. So, of course, there are some pretty complex rules you have to navigate perfectly to make it work and to stay on the right side of the law. The first big one is the 21-year rule. You can think of this as a ticking clock that starts the second you create a trust. See, the government doesn't want people to hold wealth in trusts forever without paying tax. So, every 21 years, the law basically pretends the trust sold all of its assets. And that triggers a tax bill on all the capital gains that have built up, which you can imagine could be massive if you haven't planned for it way, way in advance. Next up, you've got the tax on split income rules, or TOSI. These are basically designed to stop business owners from sprinkling income. That's when you pay out dividends to family members who are in lower tax brackets just to bring down the family's total tax bill. If you don't follow these rules to the letter, that income gets hammered with a penalty tax at the highest possible rate, which completely wipes out any benefit you were trying to get. So these two sets of rules, they're the main hurdles when it comes to splitting income. You've got the attribution rules, which are the older ones. They mostly stop you from shifting investment income to a spouse or minor child. And then you've got the newer TOSI rules, which are way broader. They really target dividends that you might pay to adult family members who aren't really active in the business. Getting around both of these requires really careful planning, thinking about your share structure and what the government would call reasonable compensation. So let's bring this all back together. When you combine that protective trust, that's your shield, with the super tax-efficient CCPC, that's your engine, you create what is honestly the gold standard for preserving wealth in Canada. It's a structure that handles both defense and offense. It protects what you have, and it helps it grow. But, and I really have to stress this is absolutely not a do-it-yourself project. Please don't try this at home. To do this right, you need a team of pros. Specifically, you need an expert lawyer and a great tax advisor. This whole structure requires very careful setup. And just as important, it needs ongoing administration and compliance work to make sure you keep getting all those benefits. And this quote, I think it really gets to the heart of it all. This kind of planning, it isn't just about saving a few bucks on your taxes this year. It's about using the rules of the game to build something strong, something that lasts, a structure that lets you achieve your biggest long-term goals. You know, maybe that's funding a foundation, passing a business down to your kids, or just securing your family's future for generations. So this really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about for your own situation. It's not just about the money you're making today. It's about whether the financial structure you have right now, is it really built to last? Is it truly designed to help you achieve what matters most to you and your family?